Hello and welcome to the Fast Track Travel Clinic with me, Simon Calder. And let's start with an email from Yvonne Bennett, whose husband has an ambition to visit all 50 states in the US, and he has just 6 remaining.
New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri and Arkansas. But because we are 67 and 70 respectively, we are looking for easy options to visit these states.
Thankfully, Yvonne, these fascinating states are all adjacent in the heartland of the US and mostly accessible by an easy and appealing rail journey. Start in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a fascinating place to find out more about Native American culture. Then board the Southwest Chief train, which will take you through the state of Kansas via Dodge City to Kansas City, across the state border in Missouri. You'll then need to hop on a bus for a couple of hours to pay your respects to Omaha, Nebraska. And back on the train you go right across Missouri to St. Louis, where the Texas Eagle train will whisk you through the best scenery of the whole trip, across Arkansas to Dallas, where you hop across to Fort Worth and board the Heartland Flyer for the final journey north to Oklahoma City. There are plenty of specialist rail operators that will help you fix up the trip, or if you prefer to do it yourself, Amtrak.com is the answer. From trains to boats, and David Fonander is indignant about a dream cruise he's taking from Southampton through the Suez Canal to Singapore aboard P&O's Arcadia.
Instead of flying to Singapore, we thought a cruise would make a change. But weeks after confirming and paying a deposit, we were told it's compulsory to obtain a visa to enter Indian territorial waters, even if we plan to stay on the ship. This costs around $70 and requires much form filling. If we'd known about this, we would have opted to fly.
David, P&O Cruises assures me that the brochure for your trip makes it clear that for any cruise calling at Indian ports, all passengers need a visa even if they plan to stay on board. And the same applies to ships serving China, Australia and Libya. So I can't see you have a right of redress. But equipped with your expensive Indian visa, you'll be free to explore the great city of Mumbai, one of my global favourites, and the fascinating colonial heritage of Cochin. Next, buses, and Gustav Thomason from Auckland in New Zealand had an unhappy trip on an Australian Greyhound bus in Queensland. The company hired in a replacement vehicle with what Gustav says was a shoddy interior. He complained to Greyhound, who offered him a $100 voucher.
Because the trip was nearly over, I asked to use the voucher on Greyhound's partner company in New Zealand. To this day, I haven't heard back.
Gustav, it's common for bus lines and airlines for that matter to charter in extra capacity, and Greyhound Australia says it may substitute any other vehicle for its own vehicle. If it's clearly inferior, you should and did complain. But with no comparable Greyhound operation in New Zealand, where the main bus firm is Intercity, I'm not surprised the firm wouldn't transfer the voucher. However, they should have had the courtesy to let you know. Finally, the travel clinic wouldn't be complete without a planes issue, and this is the curious matter of British Airways flights from Kosovo. At the start of the year, the airline posted a message saying,
"We will operate our Pristina to London services via Dubrovnik to refuel."
Well, I had to find out more. It turns out the airline is changing its fuel supplier in the capital, Pristina. Until its validation is complete, passengers will take the short hop to the southern Croatian city of Dubrovnik, which for aviation fans is great news because it's one of the most spectacular flight paths in Europe. From me, Simon Calder, bye for now and see you next time.
Thank you, Simon. Now, looking through some of the deals currently on offer, it's clear that Egypt is still crying out for our business. So much so, in fact, that plans to introduce tighter visa regulations have been shelved to encourage more of us to go. Michelle Yanachan has been to the country to find out more.
This is the other side of Egypt. Over the last 12 months, news images coming out of the country have been of political demonstrations and deadly violence on city streets. But there's also a strange quiet in parts of the country, a nation home to some of the world's most visited tourist sites. like Aswan, nearly 1,000 kilometres south of the capital Cairo. Usually the River Nile here is bustling with cruise ships and busloads of tourists exploring ancient temples. Instead, for now, the city stands eerily empty of visitors. One of the most popular activities in Aswan is to hire a felucca for a sunset cruise on one of Egypt's traditional vessels. The last time I was here, the river was packed. This time, there are only a handful of boats in the water.
Until now, it's little tourist, not. We hope one day tourists come very more, more tourists in my country, because after the problem at 25 of January, season are very low now. We hope at winter time we have good season here.
It's not only the boat trade experiencing tough times. Five-star properties like the old Cataract Hotel, which is where Agatha Christie wrote her Death on the Nile, recently reopened after a 3-year renovation, and it's been forced to offer rooms at a heavy discount.
Since January, since the revolution, the tourism industry has been severely affected, whereas by this time of year, most of the hotels, the 5-star hotels, would have achieved, I would say, 70% occupancy. At this time of the year, it's nowhere near that.
And it's not only Aswan which is feeling the slump. Tourist arrivals across Egypt have plunged, with estimated numbers for last year showing 30% fewer visitors and a similar drop in revenue. The downturn is conspicuously evident, even at prime time, like sunset at the Temple of Luxor. The lack of crowds and queues does make for a very different travel experience in Egypt. And that becomes even more acute at less well-known sites like Habu Temple. Well, I've been here for over an hour and I've seen just maybe 20 tourists walk through the temple, which shows as soon as you head off from the classic route of the valleys of the kings and the queens, the temple of Hatshepsut, you really do have exquisite places like this all to yourself. The step pyramid at Saqqara was also almost deserted, and although there were more tourists at the temple of Karnak, it was nothing like the crowds I've seen there in the past.
From the revolution started, we have very low business. Revolution nearly over. I don't find any reason why the people don't like to come to Egypt. I hope all the people come to Egypt here, especially we have a nice weather, nice civilization, nice country. I hope come soon. We're waiting you to come to Egypt.
The underlying fact is that Egypt holds some of the world's most important archaeological sites, and new discoveries are still coming to light, like a recently uncovered parade of sphinxes in Luxor. Well, this is where the Avenue of the Sphinx ends for now, just at the edge of Luxor Temple. There's still about 2.5 kilometers until Karnak Temple, which is where this pathway is going to lead. At that point, the Egyptian authorities plan to push this as a new attraction to drive visitors back into Egypt.
Michelle Yanachan reporting from Egypt, where they're still working hard to win us back. And that's it for this week. Do join us again next time if you can, when I'll be in Abu Dhabi, exploring how work's going on the world's most sustainable city. And we'll be finding out about a campaign to protect the animals many of us visit the region to see. And don't forget, you can always check out our website at bbc.com/fasttrack, or why not try bbc.com/travel for even more tips and destinations. So until next week, if you're going on a trip, do have a great time. But for now, thanks for watching and bye-bye.